Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Meditation Reflections, and
It's a Saturday, and I have to go look to find out. Anyway, but it's a lovely Saturday. Cool, the 11th.
11th, I thought so. Yay, 11. That's a good number.
That is.
Master
cool.
number.
True. And again, a nice meditation, and you set up a very interesting kind of problem this morning.
Yeah. But just before the meditation, I had the inclination, we need to call in the ancestors today.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did. And Donna connected with a grandmother.
A grandmother?
Yeah.
Who had some fairly intense things to say, so I suspect it was kind of, she knocked on the door and, now Donna. I'm learning a new form of cooking, courtesy of Malaya. It is whole food, plant-based cooking, which I feel like a 14-year-old learning to cook again. I've really got to study the recipes.
I think we're ready for this. I've been,
The food thus far is very good, but very interesting and different in how it's put together. So all my previous cooking knowledge, I have to re-understand it. The recipes are that different. And Glenn's being very patient. He's trying all these things. And we'll make a list of what we make and what we won't make.
Yeah, everything she makes is good.
Well, on the whole, maybe 98%. There's always that stuff you don't
Every
need.
once in a while, no one's perfect. So.
True. You don't need to make that for me again, which isn't bad.
Not very often.
Not very often.
Yeah.
Anyway, but what's interesting about the whole food, it is basically from scratch. I'm inclined to cook from scratch because of my grandmother Hall, who's the one who came to talk today.
There's an interesting reason behind that, too. So, go ahead. You explain.
Well, anyway, she was pointing out to me this morning, she thought I was going to cook more from scratch, because she was pointing out to me that even on the organic food, which listed all the ingredients, you would still see the occasional numbers. Now, I need to keep a copy of Chemical Maze and look up the numbers. But she says as long as there's some numbers there where they're not telling you what it is, they've got a chance to put in something that suits them. And so she says the only way you can really control all of what's in your diet is
make it from scratch.
Make it from scratch and know for sure what's in it.
And why it's there.
Yeah. And why it's there is a whole other interesting question. But my grandfather Hall came in. Grandfather Hall was a Mason, and he was a master Mason, as Glenn is, but he was master of his lodge. So he took it very, very seriously. And he said, well, to parallel that, we knew there was something wrong with the upper level lodges. And he's really talking about Grand Lodge. Keep in mind, this is Virginia, so Grand Lodge is the one in Washington.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, well, it means Grand, but it also
each state has a Grand Lodge,
and then there's the national one, but they're very close to the national one. Yeah. And he says you always felt there was a little something wrong, but since you basically liked what the Masons stood for and how they worked with each other, you put up with that little bit of something wrong. And he says there's a lot of that today. They're slightly wrong.
Yeah. And
we accept them. And he says sometimes the acceptance, you made your bed, you have to lay in it. He says, but that's not inaccurate. Sometimes we have this phrase where we accept something that's not good and not appropriate, and we shouldn't be accepting it.
Yeah. And it's, the little things, and it's just, there's various reasons for doing it, like to avoid an argument or get contentious about something that it seems like not a big deal, but even the little things, they're kind of tentacles that reach into us and kind of niggle us, and it creates a pathway for other things to come in later.
Mm-hmm. You feel just a little uncomfortable about something. Yeah. Pay attention to it, because it could be that little secret ingredient that's going to come back to cause problems later, or you could be agreeing to something that you would never agree to.
Exactly.
Which is a little spooky. And my grandfather was a very strong human being, and I remember him playing with me as a child. He's always very nice, and he would put me on this. So he still enjoyed plowing the land with a horse, and he would put me on the back of the horse because I was 3 or 4-year-old, holding on to the halter for the plow because I was up near the front of the horse, and he would plow the field with me riding the horse. And I, of course, as a child, thought that was absolutely marvelous. But I I was never within out of arm's reach at any given point.
Oh, by the way, we arrived at our wedding and left our wedding on horseback.
Yes.
So that was very cool.
Yeah, that was. Oh, the reason for that is we knew an awful lot of creative people, and we knew they were planning to do something to our luggage.
They did anyway, but...
It took them a lot more work because a horse can defend itself.
Yeah.
And let's see, you rode Gandalf, and I rode Dallas because we had to make friends with the horses before the event itself.
Yeah.
And I want you to know I was in a full-length, to-the-ground gown.
That she made.
Yeah, which was, just the ideal way to go horseback on your wedding day.
She even painted it, and she
Yeah.
knew she had... No, we're getting sidetracked. So,
But make things the way you really
Yeah.
want them.
yeah.
When we got married, we had all the things that we enjoyed, and we celebrated with all our friends, and everything that was needed to be there was there.
Yeah.
And that's a positive event
Yeah.
compared to this little subtlety. Track it down, make sure you know what it is,
Yeah.
and if it's not supposed to be there, maybe it's time to get rid of those things.
Also, you got a little bit of information about your Cherokee ancestry.
Yes, my grandmother was possibly full or at least half or what we call three-quarter Cherokee. Very strong lady. She looked at, and I have some of those looks a little bit, the squareness of the face. The
high
cheekbones, so you can see some of the ancestry in the thick hair, which I've adored having. So those lines come through. But I was asking for the ancestors to speak, and they said that they regretted not learning all the things they could learn, that some things in their culture were put as kind of off limits because their culture didn't do that. Now, the Cherokee grew crops, but they also moved every year.
Yeah.
So there was never solid buildings until the coming of the white man, and there wasn't the crop rotation and other. So their culture created structures, you do it this way. And yet they knew tribes to the south, and by the way, they're talking about the Olmec, the Mayan, and the Aztecs, who built permanent cities. They knew about the pueblos, because after all, there's trade and there's gossip and exchange. And so there was technology they missed out on because the culture said, we don't do that. And you look at that idea and translate it to our culture, and you go, what do we rule out for us?
Yeah, well, actually, quite a bit. I mean, we've been programmed not to believe in superstition, mystical things, ghosts, UFOs, and the list goes on. Natural healing, it's that, no, got to trust your doctor. There's so many things we've been misled on, so...
Yeah, what's interesting about that is we know enough to do hard science on all of those, systematic, in-depth studies, and we're actually finding that there is some truth and validity in a lot of those things, and there's real
Absolutely.
information. So if we're applying the standards of science are the ones we're advocating for. So if you dismiss something and it does have real physical proof,
Yep.
we're also short-sighting our own exploration and knowledge.
Some people are so programmed, even when they're presented with proof, they'll deny it.
I have to remember in some cases it's easier, I don't have to bother with it.
Yep. Dismiss it.
Dismiss it. And it's a kind of handy way. I don't have to deal with it, I don't have to think about it. But what if you're missing out on something important? Yeah.
All right.
We will not see you tomorrow morning. We will see you Monday morning.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, and blessings upon you.
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to mention I've on naturalshaman.com I just posted some more photos, so I have 2 pages of photos now, so check it out.
And all the videos that you've seen.
Yeah, lots of videos. There's a couple more that I put on the video page. These will appear on the vlog page, and so enjoy that website.
Something to pick and choose from. Just have something to listen to sometimes.
Naturalshaman.com. Thanks.
We'll see you on Monday.
Blessings.
Blessings.